Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday Scoreboard here on Heart of Ohio Sports. We got a full house once again this morning as joining me, Joshua Morgret from the Advertiser Tribune, Connor Roush, of course, of the Heart of Ohio Sports, and we have Greg Kinn manning the ones and twos, keeping us live on the production aspect of things. Thanks for tuning in here on Saturday Scoreboard. Guys, what an exciting night of football we had last night.
It was crazy.
To say the least.
Now, we got a lot to talk about, guys. But first and foremost, please make sure you share the video. If you are watching with us, it takes 2 seconds. Share the video. It helps more than you know. Make sure you give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, especially on YouTube. We're getting close to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So close. Just need your help. All right, so busy night last night. We were all three of us were at separate locations. So we can talk about 3 different games.
Yeah.
Josh, let's start with yours first. Where were you?
I was at Norwalk for Norwalk and Perkins.
Perkins?
A lot
and
closer
Norwalk.
than we thought.
Okay, so going into this game, you got a winless Norwalk team, and you got a Perkins team that's rolling, coming off a big upset against Bellevue. I wouldn't call that an upset. It was just a big win.
Nice win.
Now they play Norwalk on the road. Tough environment to play, and no matter what their record is. But what happened last night, Josh?
You know, on paper, it definitely looked like a one-sided blowout.
Yeah.
You know, the thought going in was probably running clock the entire second half. Perkins was just that much superior than Norwalk, but you know, Norwalk literally has nothing to lose, nothing. You know,
Yeah.
When you're 0-7 going into a game, it's you know, you throw everything, and Perkins definitely didn't help themselves. Basically, with 5 turnovers, the quarterback threw 2 interceptions. They fumbled the second half kickoff. They had a bad snap on a punt that resulted in a 4-yard punt touchdown return. And they missed a field goal, so that's basically 5 opportunities without
That
points.
hurts.
But on the other side, Norwalk, I think it was something like 4 out of their first 6 drives. They had a touchdown and a 3-and-out, and the other 4 drives they were in Perkins territory and didn't score.
Oh,
So
man.
they were on that side of the field 4 out of the first 6 times with no points to show for it. So, you know,
That's
if
frustrating.
they cash in on those opportunities, you know, it's a little different, not only going into halftime, but in the second half. So,
for sure. So I think a lot of people going into that game thought, you know, one thing, and when we're looking at the final score, we're like, you know, there had to have been something. I'm watching this game, all right, and me being a Tiffin guy and knowing how things have went this season and the things that are circulating and the things that are said around the communities of the football communities in the SBC, there's been some things said about Perkins and their game film and what they like to do to kind of hide things that they're trying to do. This is a game where most people would say, okay, it's a trap game. You know, it's between 2 big matchups. You got the Bellevue game, and then you got Norwalk, and then you have Tiffin. Now, this Tiffin game is going to determine the SBC Lake champion.
Yes.
So when it comes down to it, I'm looking at this game, and I'm looking at it from the score stream app, and I'm like, okay, 21-7, fourth quarter, and then Norwalk starts to come back and build a little bit of a comeback, and they make that score a 2-point game at the end of the game.
Yeah.
21-19.
Yeah.
When I look at the final, I'm like, is Jalen just hiding his game plan? Was he trying not to show a whole lot? Or was this just a case of Norwalk came ready to play and Perkins didn't know that they were going to show up?
You know, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
you can win a game 42-0 and not show Columbian anything too.
That's true. That's true.
But like I said, basically the 5 turnovers, and you said 21-7. Perkins was up 21-7 in the fourth quarter with the ball. But that was also the drive that had the bad snap that turned into the 4-yard punt return touchdown.
Gotcha.
So, and what ended up probably being the biggest play of the game was after that. You know, so Perkins is, you know, probably pretty upset that just happened. They blocked the extra point.
Oh,
That was huge. Now it's 21-13. That's why Norwalk is forced to go for 2 at the end of the game. You know, they
Interesting.
make that extra point. They get the touchdown with about 52 seconds to go. They kick the extra point. We're probably headed to overtime. But
wow.
for Perkins to kind of respond and get that big blocked extra point, that ended up being huge, obviously. Forced Norwalk to go for 2 at the end instead of the gamble to go for 2 for the win with a minute to go at home.
Wow. That's, I mean, when you lay it out like that, you tell the whole story. I mean, that's remarkable. That's a great game.
It was.
All right, so Perkins sitting at 7-1 now. going into a big SBC Lake matchup with Tiffin Columbian next week. Now, none of us were at the Tiffin Columbian game because we're all from Tiffin, and, Bellevue doesn't like people from Tiffin, so they're not going to let us over there. Big win last night for that Tornado program.
Huge.
That was absolutely huge. They're down 14-0 to start the game, and I go, oh, man, what is going on? Then all of a sudden they claw their way back. They tie it up. They take the lead before halftime, 21-14. So
Huge.
21 unanswered points to take the lead going into halftime. And then it becomes a back-and-forth affair. As I'm watching on ScoreStream, we're updating throughout the game, and it's like, okay, now Bellevue has the lead. Okay, now Columbian's on top. Now Bellevue's back on top, 28-27. And now Columbian takes the lead, 33-28. And I'm like, oh, man, they got to close this one out. They got to finish. Luckily, they were able to finish things off. I believe we're going to have a conversation with Coach Judd Lutz, so we'll kind of break that one down a little bit more in depth, but big matchup coming up this week with Columbian and Perkins. Yeah. This one is to determine the SBC Lake champion. What do you think about this one, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, the game with Perkins, this is the end of the 3-game stretch on the road. They've taken care of business against Clyde and Bellevue. Definitely a tough one last night to go back and forth and win on the road against a team that beat you by 30 last year at home. Kind of embarrassed Columbian. So got a little retribution and nice win, and big game next week for all the marbles.
For sure. And then Tiffin Calvert, none of us were there because that's a 3-hour drive for all of us.
3-hour drive.
Yeah, the other side of the state. Probably closer to West Virginia than it is than we are to Michigan.
But a big-time win for Calvert. They go on the road. They take care of business, and they, just absolutely destroy Buckeye Local. 55-7 was the final. Harry Schultz, 7 total touchdowns in that game, Greg.
Wow.
5 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, no turnovers. Big-time performance there by Harry Schultz.
He was our MSD player of the game last week.
Well, them chicken chunks must have powered him to another big-time performance, huh?
It sure must have.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, Calvert, Columbian, both with road wins this week. Frost County was lonely and empty.
Lonely.
Quiet.
On a Friday night.
A little spooky on an October Friday night.
That's really weird, but hey, it is what it is. But no, we were at 2 different locations last night. We had 2 different crews calling 2 different games. Connor, you were over in Attica.
I was in Attica.
Greg,
Seneca
you were there
East
too, right?
Oh, yeah.
and Mohawk.
All right. So Seneca East and Mohawk. Now, every year I circle this one on the calendar because this is always a great game. Didn't disappoint last night, did it?
This is a game. This is a game to where when it's time in the schedule, just wipe away the records.
That's right.
The records don't even matter.
Nope.
Because, these 2 teams are just out there hungry for a win because they're 2 big rivals.
Yep.
And it's an N10 game, and they want bragging rights, too.
Oh, yeah.
So it matters a lot for both of these schools and these kids. So the beginning of the game was interesting. The first half, it was just a back-and-forth affair, defensive game.
Yeah.
Offense couldn't start anything at all.
I looked at the score on ScoreStream at halftime, and it was 8-6.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, we got a classic defensive slugfest going on over there in Attica.
Yep, so Mohawk scored first, Zayden Fry with the rushing touchdown. And then, actually, it was like 2 minutes left to go in the second quarter, and Mohawk got the ball, and they were driving down the field, down to, I think, Seneca East 35, fumble. Like minute 41 left to go. Seneca East goes all the way down the field, and with 3 seconds left, they scored a go-ahead touchdown and got a 2-point conversion. So they were up 8-6 at half, which was huge for them because they get the ball first in the second half. So we get out, and they start the second half with the ball. Seneca East, about a 4-minute drive, they score a touchdown. But missed the 2-point conversion. So it is 14-6 right now. And then Mohawk, I kid you not, a 1-minute drive, they drove all the way down, scored a touchdown, 2-point conversion. Oh. It's 14-all. I'm like, what's going to happen here in the second half? So it kind of just went like this after that. Seneca East got a touchdown. It was 22-14. Mohawk got a touchdown. It was 22-20. They missed the 2-point conversion. Seneca East got a touchdown. 28-20, missed the 2-point. And then with 6 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, it was 28-28. And then it all comes down to Mr. Chester for Mohawk here. What was it? 50 seconds left in the game. He kicked a 28-yard field goal.
Wow.
And that put Mohawk on top 31-28.
Greg,
And
you got that cut, don't you? Let's see that field goal.
You want to see the field goal now?
Yeah, if we don't, if that's not too hard to make happen here,
Let's see here.
I think that would be a great. Because I'm sorry, but if this would have been the game-winning field goal,
This would have been play of the game.
probably would have been our champs cut of the week for this game for sure. Because I mean, wow, this was one of those games. This was one of those games that had a lot of back and forth.
Let's see if we can get it going here.
Chester.
For the win.
Chester for the win.
Less than a minute.
Up. It's low. It's up the crossbar and it's good. It's up the cross.
Everyone was going so crazy.
The old Justin Tucker, but this one wasn't from 65 yards out.
But I mean, knowing how these teams are around here, not really much of a kicking team at all, and makes a 28-yard field goal to take the lead with 50 seconds left.
Guys, let's be honest. That was ugly.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
it went through.
It went
It
through.
went through.
As a Vikings fan that nearly had a heart attack last Sunday morning when the Saints double doinked, I'll take it back. That was not ugly.
That's
that
right.
was beautiful as a Vikings fan.
Hey, you like Greg the Leg, don't you? Greg the Leg Joseph? That was a Browns kicker for a while, and we gave him the nickname Greg the Leg. Now he is a legend in Minnesota right now, right? Was he 5 for 5 last week on field goals?
Because they couldn't score a touchdown.
Hey, got to take them points when you can get them.
It's better than double doinking to lose.
Right.
Carry on. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so keep going. So Mohawk takes the lead
31-28 with 50 seconds left. So you're thinking, all right, well, that really is kind of it. Let's just say 4 kickoffs later, Seneca East gets the ball. Mohawk kicked the ball out of bounds 3 times, and that pushed them back 5 yards each
So wait a
kickoff.
second. They kicked the ball out of bounds, and then Seneca East was like, I'll take the penalty, and you're going to re-kick it.
Re-kick it, and they moved
3
back.
times in a row?
3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, were they kicking it out of bounds on purpose? 'Cause
No,
they just didn't want to kick it
No,
deep?
they weren't. They wanted they wanted to kick it.
Did you see
in the
the
middle of the
field
field? They wanted the time
Josh,
to run.
stop.
You can't get
These kids are watching this program. We can't do
So it was Chester that was with the kickoff. So obviously he made the field goal, but he couldn't kick the ball off. It kept going out of bounds. So they finally got the kickoff down to like the 40-yard line. So where they originally would have had the ball in the first place.
Yeah, after about 3 kicks, he finally kicked one that was like semi-deep and sent them all the way back to where they would
And
have
that's
been.
where they started. So I'm going to take a little bit from what came from the post-game interview, but Seneca East were dogs that last drive. I mean, they drove down the field and they did their business. And then Foose had the ball.
The dogs did their
I was going
business.
to say, you don't want to
Dogs
put
did
those
their
things together.
business.
That's why I turned and looked at you.
Yep.
I don't know if that was on purpose, but that was good.
I hope
So
somebody,
Foose-
hope somebody brought a doggy bag.
So Foose ran the ball, and we thought he had the game-winning touchdown with 10 seconds left.
So what do we have that cut, Greg?
Yes.
All right. So this was what
wait,
you
wait, wait.
This is the play right here
was
that,
the game winner.
that everyone thought was the game
Hold
winner.
on, give me 1 second. Actually, I didn't stick that one in there, so give me 1
He's like,
second.
man, you put the one video I don't have. He's got like 12 videos up, and we're like, yeah, let's pull up the one that you don't have, Greg. How about that?
I think it's this one here. So let's go ahead and see what
We're
happens.
gonna watch whatever it is.
Seconds left. But
Good chance.
Here we
He's got to
go.
be quick. Slings it. He's got his man. Is he in, though? Is he in? Is he in?
After
that was the wrong
his
one, sorry about
run.
My bad.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, it's hard to go.
I mean,
through all
how
these files
Seneca
from
East
last night.
executed the drive with 50 seconds left to go in the
Yeah.
game and to do what they did was amazing.
Now, there was some controversy.
There was.
There was some
There
controversy.
definitely was.
Walk us through what happened on that last play.
Okay, so that play that Greg just had on the monitor, that was, well, I don't know if that actually played over, but Foose passed the ball and it was caught, and the dude looked like he went in the end zone, but he was just short, and the time went to zeros. It was all zeros. I'm like, well, Mohawk just won the game right there.
Yeah.
Well, I had the camera zoomed in on the official on the field right there, and I just see this. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then we looked at the replay. You could see that there's a timeout called, and there's 1 second left. They gave him 1 second.
And on that replay, you see Ed Phillips race down towards the official. Man,
right away.
I'll tell you.
Just to be safe, and they got it with 1 second to go at the half-yard line.
So at the half-yard line, they give him the ball back with 1 second left on the clock.
1
So they make
second
him
to
put
go.
1 second on the clock at the half-yard line.
When you're at the half-yard line, I mean, it's kind of goofy.
What's your coach tell you?
It's kind of goofy to go for a field goal and tie it. You might as well just go in and win the game. So
right.
if I'm in the huddle and I'm being told what to do, half-yard, go be a dog.
And that's
Get
exactly what
And that's what
Blake
Foose
Foose
tells
said.
us.
I think
Foose-
Ed Phillips told him.
I think I got that video pulled up for the 10-second.
It's right up
He's
the
just
middle.
gonna
He's going to
run
run
it up the
it.
middle.
He's got some space. He's still moving.
Oh, there
He's
he
still
goes.
moving. 15-10. He's at the 5. He's in. Oh.
Say no. He stepped out of bounds at the, 10-yard line?
Yep.
Yeah.
10-yard line, 10 seconds
Next
left on the
play,
clock.
comes out, incomplete pass,
In the end zone. Yep.
and then they had 5 seconds left.
Yep.
He throws a pass.
2 seconds left. but
Good chance.
Here we
He's got to
go.
be quick. Slings it. He's got his man. Is he in, though? Is he in? Is he in? No, he's not in. The clock. It's at
That's a 3 second.
1 second.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll say it's a 2 second, 1 second.
Now, I'm a Tigers fan. I went to Seneca East, so obviously I'm going to root for the Tigers. But when I watch that, I'm like, man, if that's in Sycamore, that game's over.
It is. It is. And
Because
I tell you what Phillips did to Seneca East, he kept them motivated and kept them going. And I think the kids knew as well, like, it's going to be tough. Well, you got to think about this, too, is Seneca East lost that game, it's all Cary's league.
yeah.
They still have a
chance.
matchup against Cary, and who knows what can happen.
I think I have the clip of what happened after that when they actually they called it back and got the timeout. I think this is the actual end of the game here.
Here it is.
Left.
Yeah.
And if you have that
I mean,
reception,
he was tackled. Boom, boom. 1 second left.
absolutely,
And
you
they
have
have
that
half a yard.
reception. You call that timeout, and now here's your chance.
half a yard, 1 second.
Your
Here's the
playbook-
game.
I mean, you talk about adding wrinkles, you talk about going down the list, but like I talked
Listen
about,
to it.
where men are made, right here on the goal line.
Foose all the way.
Push it in! Touchdown, Seneca East! The Tigers hold strong! and
Celebrates. Attica rejoices.
That was, I mean, going into halftime being 8-6, you did not expect the score to be 34-31.
Defense optional in the second half.
Yeah, what a ball game.
What a
though,
turnaround.
man. And we're glad we were there for that one.
And then while we're getting towards the end of the game, we paid attention to your game, Nate.
Yes.
And oh my God, did we score last night? How was yours?
Yeah, we picked 2 really good games to be at. Let's just say that. Now, I know everybody wanted us to be somewhere that the team didn't want us there. That's just really, that's what it comes down to, folks. Sorry, but I'll just tell it like it is. Bellevue didn't want us there. They made every effort to make sure that we were not there. They had a paid stream that they've partnered with a cable network for. And for those of you out there who are saying, well, this is what Heart of Ohio Sports should try to be. You guys should be trying to be this production. You know what? Give us the money. That takes about,
I mean, even more than
it
that.
takes
though.
about
takes
$4
more than even
grand
the
per
money.
production to do something like that.
Yeah.
Per production. So if you want to give me $4 grand for every game that we do,
Go right ahead.
absolutely.
we
That way
have-
I can put together the crew. We can get the equipment we need. We can get the technology we need to be able to do your fancy little score bar with the down and distance and all that crap. You want to bitch about stuff like that, Give us the money.
Help us out.
Because right now, we're doing this for free for you guys. You guys can watch all of this stuff for free. Last night, you had to pay $12 to watch that game. Sorry, you get what you pay for. Yeah, they had fancy little ticker at the bottom and whatever, but
and isn't that more?
We provide the best coverage for your value that you're going to find anywhere in this area. So, but I know everybody wanted us to be somewhere, but I think we picked out two of the best games in this area.
Yep.
I think last night we were where we were supposed to be, and Zach Dillon, myself, Eric Hall, my son Bailey, we were over in Gibsonburg for the Margaretta and Gibsonburg game. This one, all being told, I mean, this was probably going to determine the winner of the SBC River, because whoever comes out of this matchup, I mean, you got Hopewell Loudon.
Yeah, Gibsonburg and Hopewell next week.
But yes, that's going to be that's the
title.
big one. That's probably going to be the league title game right there. But this one, Gibsonburg wouldn't have a chance to be in that conversation if they wouldn't win this game.
Right.
So it's a big win for them. Margaretta came to play. They really did. They came out firing. They got up to a 10-0 lead. And the way they shut down Gibsonburg's offense on those first two possessions, I mean, Gibsonburg went 3 and out. Connor Smith had 4 carries for about 10 yards in the first 2 possessions.
Wow.
They were keying on him.
Yeah.
And they were keying on that belly. What they were really keying on is that the A-gap. They shut down the A-gap last night for Gibsonburg. They had nothing there. In between their guards and center, there was nothing there. They had to go outside to pick up any yards. A lot of their yards last night were on power or sweeps or pitch, anything other than their belly. And they're used to getting chunk plays from that belly. So when I watch this offense and I watch it kind of figure things out, I'll tell you one thing is for certain. Gibsonburg coaching staff, they make in-game adjustments better than just about anybody in this area. They know what another team is trying to do to stop them, and they know how to counter it. And that, to me, is really fun to watch, because we're up there in the press box, and we share a press box with the coaching staff. The coaching staff is at the other end of the press box, and you can hear their in-game adjustments. You can hear them saying, this is what they're doing. This is what we need to do. Hey, they've got this guy. Hey, they shifted over into the A gap. Hey, they've got their D tackle 55 shifted into the B gap now. Everything up there, they're making adjustments during the game. Even during a play, they're making adjustments based on what the defense is showing them. That's really what impressed me the most last night, was Gibsonburg making adjustments during the game to what Margaretta was trying to do to stop them so they could find way. I mean, they limited Connor Smith to 196 yards rushing last night. It was the first time in 5 games the young man didn't go over 300 yards on the ground.
That's huge for a kid getting national attention.
So
It's crazy to say limited almost 200 yards.
Well,
but that's a good game for anybody facing Connor Smith.
After the game, I'm talking with the announcer and the stat keeper. This dude is
guy.
a boss.
Yes.
I'm telling you right now,
Now I
when
know
I'm
who you're
watching this
talking
guy do his job, I'm like, this guy's amazing. He is calling the game, announcing the game,
And keeping stats.
and keeping stats at the same time.
Did you see his handwriting?
Impeccable.
I don't mean to sound
That's crazy.
fruity, but he's got the best looking handwriting for a man in the world.
It's like
I used to get
unreal.
stats and stuff from him, and I'm like, did he type this?
Yeah.
Did he type?
It's ridiculous.
So nice.
Excellent penmanship.
I want whatever brain he has that can
Meanwhile,
make you be
I
able to multitask. and
I
write like
mean,
that.
wow.
I write my quotes down after the game, and then I'm sitting there typing. And I'm like, what did I write down? I can't read that.
It's like
Yeah.
a
And I
doctor's
gotta like
prescription.
re-listen to
Yes.
the interview with the coach, even though I just wrote it 10 minutes earlier.
But I'm watching this guy, and I asked him after the game, I'm like, so what happened? Like, how many yards did he have? Probably had about 150, right? He's like, well, they limited him to 196. I'm like, limited. But,
quotes.
I mean, that's this Gibsonburg offense. You know, they didn't throw the ball much, but they did have a key throw for a first down, a pass for a first down in I think it was a 3rd or a 4th down situation. They needed a first down, and they got it through the air, and it surprised everybody. It surprised me, surprised Zach. Zach was not prepared for it, because it was a situation where I was like, you can't pass the ball here. You cannot pass the ball, because it was like 10 seconds left. They needed the first down, but they also didn't have any timeouts. And I'm like, well, you got to get closer for this field goal. they get the first down they need, and the kid gets out of bounds on the pass play. And I'm like, wow. You don't expect to see that out of Gibsonburg, and Eric's down on the sideline going, I thought you said they shouldn't pass. I'm like, well, they shouldn't in this situation. But they got what they needed. And I tell you, that was one of the most exciting games we've covered here with Heart of Ohio Sports, and I'm glad that we were at 2 extremely exciting games last night.
Extreme.
Before we move on, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to step aside, take a quick break, because I want to get Judd Lutz connected here, give him a call, and see if we can get him on the line, and we'll talk about that Columbia and Bellevue game a little bit, all right? We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're watching this. All right, and we're back here on the Saturday Scoreboard. Nate Mullins, Josh Morgret, Connor Roush, and Greg Kinn. And now joining us via phone call, we have Tiffin Columbian head football coach Judd Lutz on the line with us. How we doing, Coach?
Doing great. Doing great. How are you guys?
Absolutely amazing. Great Saturday morning here as we talk about the night before in high school football. Some really exciting games that we were at, but we really wanted to be at your game last night, but, you know, it just wasn't possible. Just not a very welcoming environment over there for us Tiffin guys, but
you know
all about that.
They don't roll out the red carpet exactly.
No, they don't. Not exactly, but
not for us at least. No, good, great town, very competitive, and they take their football serious, and I appreciate that.
Yes, they do. But no, Coach, let's so going into this game, you guys obviously had something that you were telling your kids all week in practice. What was the emphasis this week?
Really just talking about, hey, it's going to be a great atmosphere. Going to be out there with some rare air, as we like to say. Enjoy it, but always be sure to play on the edge with an edge. That's what great rivalries are about, and that's also just who we are as a team. Our characteristic is toughness and on the edge with an edge. And, I thought we did that. Didn't execute at a tremendously high level on a couple things that just didn't bounce our way, but we looked adversity in the eye, didn't flinch, and found a way to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach, and didn't flinch. That's a great way to describe how you guys came away with a victory there because, you start out 14-0 on the road in a hostile road environment. Talk about the mentality of your guys down 14-0. Was there ever any kind of a down mentality on the sideline where they just, putting it behind them, ready to get on to that next play?
Yeah, I'll be very honest. They go down, they have a little bit of a drive. We get a chance to get off the field zone, and then we fit up a run, just two guys in the same gap, and it bounces, and they score. And then they followed up with an onside kick and get it. And then similar, kind of go down again, catch us on a couple bad fits and score again. And you're down 14-0 with like 4 minutes or 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Your offense hasn't even been out there, and it'd be easy to point some fingers and, scream and yell at each other or whatever. And I looked around, looked at kids, looked at the coaches. My message again was, we're not flinching, and they were ready to go. There was no blaming, no complaining, no whining. We're confident in who we are, and there's no obstacle, we're not going to go over. And obviously they proved that. We came back with 21 unanswered, and then it was a back and forth game from there, and obviously a really good football game.
Yeah, that was it was a great game to follow just on the score stream app, just keeping up with the score. I'm announcing the score during our game, and I'm getting excited watching the score back and forth. I can only imagine what that atmosphere was like there last night. Just talk about what it's like going into such a tough road environment like that.
It's fun. You got to enjoy it. It's not stressful or, you can't say, oh, woe is me and feel sorry for yourself. You got to enjoy it. And that's what high school football is all about on Friday nights. Going into, small communities, mid-sized communities that care about football, care about athletics, and, going to be loud and rambunctious. And that's what's fun. That's what makes it great. And, the rivalry between the two of us is awesome because of things like that. And obviously being successful just outside of that game too. It's a balanced rivalry. Now it's at 45-1 overall record and 91 matchups.
That is incredible.
Yeah. And also obviously, as part of the NOL, now SBC at really similar times, I think there was a 38-year period where we or them have won a share or won the title outright like 26 times. 26 out of 38, that's a good run. And all those things obviously make what I believe is to be a good rivalry. And to go into a place like Clyde last week, go into a place like B-Town last night, and then I have to go on the road again next week. Not real excited with our SBC current schedule, but it is what it is. And, we just got to go. I can whine and complain, and people don't care. So either do we. And it is what it is.
How do we put in for a change to get these three games separated a little bit? Maybe sneak that Sandusky game in there and the Norwalk game in there somewhere, so we don't have these three back-to-back-to-back games. Man, wow.
There's going to be a little shuffle, I think, next year. I got to look, though, because I know the conference realignment. But, it doesn't matter. Anywhere you go on the road in the conference is going to be a tough atmosphere to find a way to get a win, and that's what makes it great.
That's right.
And I think that's why we've seen some postseason success from a lot of the teams in the conference, because you're ready. You're built for it. So
iron sharpens iron. That's for sure.
Iron, right? Yeah. So,
all right, Josh. Any questions for Coach here?
Yeah, I want to ask you about two of your players. If you can talk about QB1 first, Braden Rogo. I just saw, I think you were tweeting just as Nate called you that he's the all-time leader in career passing touchdowns now. And with the competition the last 2 years between him and Logan Beeston, just kind of where have you seen Braden grow this year and take over, not only as QB1 but as a leader for you guys?
Yeah, first and foremost to become the all-time leading career anything, at a place like Columbia with a rich tradition is pretty special, unless it's like interceptions, fumbles, or missed tackles. But no, we're positive. It's for touchdown throws, and as only a junior, and counting. So pretty special, and obviously he's a special kid. Was elected captain this year as a junior by his peers, not by the coaching staff, but by his peers. I've seen him continue to develop as a leader, vocally and with it, just his work ethic and how he prepares. And he is a kid who, pounds on his craft, sharpens his axe over and over and over all year long. And he's a competitor. He wants to win. And I've told people this over and over. We could be a team who throws it 50 times a game because he's really good. But we don't believe that's the recipe for success over the long haul. And in Ohio. So, we have a plan most games to, remain balanced. And, he could get frustrated by that, that he doesn't, throw out these lofty stats. But the number one stat thing he's worried about and we're worried about is winning, get the one in the win column. And couldn't be happier for, a great family and for a great kid. And obviously really excited for a strong finish to his junior year and setting up a pretty exciting senior year too. But we're going to take it 1 week at a time first.
Yeah, and the other player I wanted to ask about, and I thought you were going to dabble in it there for just a second, is you don't have to throw 50 times a game because of what Damian Brockington has done for you this year. Just where you've seen him emerge and the big numbers he's really put up for you this year so far, leading the league in rushing.
Yeah, and he'll tell you, talk about an unselfish, team first kid. Probably would have been a starting running back on most teams last year as a sophomore. But just happened to have an all-state, running back in front of him and Keyshawn Jackson and, never complained, never whined, never wavered, embraced his role last year. And obviously was really excited for the opportunity to, probably get a bulk of the carries this year. And that's exactly how it's happened. But he'll tell you and be the first to say, our offensive line is playing really great. It's a great mix of size and athleticism and intelligence and toughness. Those 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that we put out there up front with tight ends and additional tackles and stuff are doing a great job of giving him some holes. And so you give a kid who's just, in my opinion, electric with the ball in his hand, the ability to go untouched for 4 or 5 yards or get out in the perimeter. He can do some special things, and he's done just that. So great player, but surrounded by some great players, obviously, to exasperate and highlight some of those skills.
Thank you, Coach, and congratulations on a fine season so far.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Connor, you got any questions for Coach here?
I guess the only thing that was coming up to mind, Coach, is obviously after that tough week 1 that you guys had, we are seeing the success on the field. After week 1, how has the locker room been and on the practice field? Could you see there's just a flip switched on just we got to turn this around and just make sure we have a big season and translating that onto the field as we are seeing on Friday nights?
Yeah, we put a tremendous amount of effort into our off season and preparing for, a handful of things. First off, you want to prepare for a win week 1 and lead off the season really well, but you can't put all your eggs in that basket and not prepare for the other, 9 opponents on your schedule and what you kind of think you need to be successful against them either. So, we put a tremendous amount of effort into that week 1 game and didn't find a way to get it done. But at the same point, whether we won it by 50, lost it by 50, or anywhere in between, we still have a mentality every week of win or lose, get better. It doesn't matter. Just get better. And so these kids have continued week in and week out showed up on Monday through Thursday with the intent of getting better and worrying about us first and what we need to take care of to become, the best version of ourselves as a team. But also obviously neutralize a really good opponent that we're going to see that Friday. So no, it wasn't we're going to throw everything out because of an unsuccessful week 1 game. Obviously, they're a tremendous team and have shown it with, a good season. And they're a little banged up over at Fremont Ross, but have found a way to still be pretty successful. And we saw a really good version of them week 1, and we didn't play our best. It just is what it is. We got to flush it, move on, and I feel like that's what we've done. And, again, I think this team is really close to adversity proof is what we'd like to say. And we kind of have had that mentality the whole year.
Yep, I like that. I like the want-to-know mentality per week as well. But
right.
Thank you and congratulations, Coach, on a great season so far.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Greggy, any final questions for Coach before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the game last night against B team. You said you guys were down 14 points, and then you made a comeback there where you had, 20 unanswered points?
21. Yeah.
21 unanswered points?
21, yeah.
And then you said you guys then went into basically like trading scores back and forth. What do you credit that to? Is it because you guys are so familiar with each other that you're able to adjust to the other team's success during the game, or?
Yeah, a lot of people, I don't know if they realize this, but in our conference, we share we have a pool that everyone throws their game film into. And it's just an agreed upon thing that after every one of your games, you're throwing it in the pool, and I've been in other coaching stints where you exchange like 2 to 3 games and then maybe you find a way to get your hands on others. But, at this point in the season, late in the year, leading into this week, we had 7 all 7 of their games, and they've had all 7 of ours. So, we can see how they've evolved throughout the year and their personnel and who they have and what they do with them, and same for us. So, there's not a whole lot of hiding. Of course, you got wrinkles and stuff, but you have a really good idea of who the heck each other are when you get on the line, and that's what makes for some great games, obviously. And obviously great coaching staffs around the league. It shows, with close games across the board pretty consistently. So that's a whole other just added element that is pretty interesting.
Yeah, we had some really great games we covered last night, but I'm telling you, I wish we could have been there for that one. Thanks again, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Coach. Anything else you want to get out before we let you go here? I really appreciate you spending time with us this morning, though.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys. I know you guys are doing everything to cover games in the area and cover us, and it's very appreciated. And there's some things that some places that don't allow you in for whatever reasons or angles they're using, and hopefully we can get those ironed out. But I know you're going to get some more games of ours, and we're really excited to have you every time because you guys do a great job. And we want people in the stands, but the next best thing obviously is taking in the game at home and through you guys. And I can't say it, thanks enough. And just so appreciated for all you guys have done for us so far.
Well, we appreciate you guys being in our corner and allowing us to broadcast your games. I'm looking forward to this playoffs because I'm telling you, Coach, they can't keep us out of the playoffs. We got to pay. So, if they're turning us away, they're turning away money now. So, at this point, we should be there with you for the rest of the ride, starting with not this coming week, but next week against Norwalk. We're still trying to work on that Perkins game. We'll see what we can do for that one, but we'll definitely be there for the Norwalk game to close out the slate. But once again, Coach, thanks again for your time. I appreciate your time this morning here on the Saturday Scoreboard.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right. Once again, Tiffin Columbian head football coach Judd Lutz joining us on the program. And, guys, what an exciting night of football for us in high school football. But we have a slate of games with college football coming up today, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So what's the big games in this area, Heidelberg's playing Mount Union today, traveling to
Mount Union.
That's always the tough one. That's always the tough one.
Yeah.
Last week, that was a fun game to cover.
Yeah.
A lot of fun being there for that Muskingum game. Zach is one of those guys that's at every one of the games usually, and he hasn't been there this year. Josh, you were there this past weekend. Usually when I talk to Zach about these games, he has a certain perspective. Zach Baker being who I'm referring to. But Josh, I love your perspective on these games because, not saying anything against Zach, but it feels like, you get a different element when you interview coaches, when you cover these games. It just feels more like it's a fan's perspective. So I appreciate your coverage, and you were there for that Muskingum game. Now, this Heidelberg squad, coming into this year, a lot of people thought, this could be a team that could challenge Mount Union for that top spot.
Right.
Disappointing loss to John Carroll. And, the offense hasn't really played up to par, I don't believe, for a lot of people's standards. Especially I'd say that the Heidelberg standards, the coaching staff, I think would admit that as well. Defensively, they've been there, but offensively, it's been a struggle. For today, I'm not even going to ask you what you think for today, but closing out the season.
I'll still tell you.
I know you will. But, they got Marietta coming up in a couple weeks. We'll be there for that one, trying to create a really cool, unique experience for that. But this Heidelberg team, as you watch them, you've been there for a few of the home games. What impresses you the most about this team?
It started off with the defense at the beginning of the season. I think the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they only gave up like 7 or 10 points. And then, like you said, kind of took one on the chin against John Carroll. Never got the offense going that day. I think the biggest issue right now maybe is no Montavious Yearby and no Drew Sims. You're starting running back and starting quarterback.
They're not going to have them today either?
As far as I know, Sims is not playing. I didn't hear any more on Yearby. I think they're still going to go with the 2 quarterback system that they did last week, and they were effective with it.
They were effective. Shane Treharn had a pretty good game.
And Bridger Klein
started out. He had a great game as well. I mean, they did what you needed them to do. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't have a bunch of mistakes. They were game managers.
Yeah, and the running game didn't miss a beat. TJ Ramey, how about that? He came in, I think his career numbers before last week was like 44 carries for 174 yards. And then last week he had 28 carries for $166.
Almost reached his career totals with one game.
In one game. So, which Montavious Yearby was having huge games at home. They haven't been able to run the ball on the road much. Yearby had struggled in their 2 or 3 road games so far. So, to have any sort of chance today, you're going to have to run the ball effective and not turn it over and play like the defense did the first couple of weeks. So.
When they're on the road, they don't have that Heart of Ohio sports magic.
That's exactly right.
I was really going to ask Coach Donaldson about Yearby's numbers at home versus away, and then Yearby doesn't play, and then Ramey comes out and goes for 166. So something about running the ball at home has been effective. So
that offensive line just likes that turf better, I guess.
I
don't know.
Beautiful turf there.
It is. It's a gorgeous facility.
Yeah, it's a major uphill climb today. I mean, it would be if Drew Sims and Montavious Yearby was playing. Yeah. So. Without them too, you hope, and Coach Donaldson said to me, they did some things against Muskingum that maybe they weren't really ready for because they were expecting Drew Sims to play. And, I can say it because Coach Donaldson has said it that Drew Sims is not the most mobile quarterback. He's, slugging around out there like Tom Brady runs. And,
geez. Josh goes on a couple walks and he thinks he can just talk about everybody's physical fitness.
But
we know Josh is mobile.
I prefaced it by saying I could say it because Scott has said it.
All right.
I wouldn't talk about the kid if Scott hadn't said it on the record. So, but yeah,
Scott's like, thanks for throwing me under the bus today, Josh.
He said it on the record and I put it in the paper. So
my question
everybody knows he said it.
Did Eric Daniel talk about the kick last night from Braden Chester? Because you spoke pretty freely about that.
I'm gonna text Eric about it. I'm actually headed to Mohawk here in about 20 minutes. Hopefully Coach Daniel will be there. But no, if Klein and Trian can kind of rotate and maybe pick up some yards on the ground, put some long drives together, you're not going to go out and hit Mountain Union with the big passes. You got to put the 10, 12 plays drives together that take 5 or 6 minutes off the clock, and you got to finish with touchdowns.
And historically, when teams are successful, when I say successful, I mean like keeping the game close against Mount Union.
Yes,
that's how you do it. You have to keep their offense off the field. And you have to have long, sustained, mistake-free drives.
Yeah, no penalties. You can't get behind You can't be 2nd and 12, 3rd and 10 kind of plays.
Cannot happen.
Because Mountain Union will eat that up. They'll get pressure and they'll sack you. So
for sure,
are they just gonna ever not be good?
No.
Like the way you guys just spoke of them. I mean, like the way you just spoke about them. That having a good game against them is not getting blown out.
Yeah.
But like not beating them isn't even it's not even a question. Like, but also imagine how much pressure that would have on you as a program that like everybody expects that you are going to dominate you. You know?
Exactly.
It is. I mean, you can really compare them and like the Wisconsin Whitewater to the Alabama of Division One. You're
That's a great
expected to go out and win
every year.
big every year, every game, blowout. I mean, Ohio State's had it the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Like if Ohio State doesn't go out and win like 56-7, people freak their crap.
They do.
Like guys, a 28-10 win over a ranked team, that's okay. That's a dominant win.
They
You
only
don't
threw
have
for 4 touchdowns. What's going on
Yeah.
here?
Bench CJ
Yeah.
Stroud, go to the next quarterback. But I don't even know where I was going with that. We were talking about
Mount Union and their dominance.
Oh, yeah.
you know.
I mean, they've been good for, gosh. I mean, I know they've won, what is it, like 34 in a row over Heidelberg. You know, it used to be like if they lost one game a year, it was a down year. You know, they were going
89, I think was the last time.
I mean, they were going 15-0 and 14-1 every year, winning titles there in the mid 2000s. I mean, they're still at that level. They're, you know, one of the top 4 teams in the country every year in Division III. So,
Yeah.
like we talked 2 weeks ago, it would be a huge momentum program building win if if Heidelberg can get it, but it's going to be tough on the road today.
Yeah, it's going to be that's going to be a tough game for Heidelberg today. They'll come back home in a couple weeks. They have a bye week next week,
Yeah.
and then they have Marietta at home. That's a homecoming game, correct?
Yeah.
And that one is they'll be celebrating the 72 team
Yeah,
during that
50
game.
years since they won the Stag Bowl.
Since the 72 Stag Championship.
Before we were born.
Yes.
Way before we were born.
Way
for some
before
of us.
I was
11
born.
years before I was even thought of. Yes. Crazy.
You're old.
I know.
I was like 17 years before me.
Usually,
We're
I'm
going
the oldest one
downwards
in the
and-
room, and it doesn't feel like it in my head until I realize, yeah, I really am the oldest guy in this room. Wow.
Is
that's
it when the
weird.
kids start yelling and you're like, those kids need to behave? Do you ever get that? 'Cause I've gotten that at 33. Like I went to a game this year and I
God.
stupidly sat by the middle school section. I'm like, oh my God.
That's so
I'm like,
funny. I could see you sitting there literally saying, those
like-
kids need to behave.
You know what?
Settle down. People are trying to watch the game.
And my son is 11 and he's getting to that age. I'm like, Jackson, go sit down somewhere.
You quit being rambunctious, young man.
Yeah, he doesn't. He'll go to the football games, but he just wants to go and play and run around. And like, son, that's not why we go to football games. We go to watch.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'll take him with me to volleyball, and he'll sit there. You would think he was an angel. He will sit there and watch volleyball. I'm like, son, what is wrong here? Like, I don't want you to run around like rambunctious at a volleyball game because we're inside, but why can't you do this at a football game?
Oh, man.
Kids.
It's just something about volleyball he likes,
It's
man.
volleyball.
He loves volleyball. He's going with me Tuesday night. I got a big match, Calvert and Liberty Benton. He's like,
Oh, wow.
He's like-
that's a
be
big
a
one.
heck of a game.
he's a big Liberty Benton fan. I took
Okay.
him with me. I took him one time out of necessity with me. We had a dentist appointment in Fostoria. I said, let's just go on to Liberty Benton. Okay. Well, when he found out Liberty Benton has the 6'4" Karis Willow going to Penn State, he's
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
got
don't
yourself
want
a fan.
to. I don't want to say he's in love, but he's a
A
big
little bit
fan.
of a crush.
Yeah, and then when I
all
said
right.
I said Tuesday night I got him against Calver. He said, "Let's go." So I think we're gonna go get off work and go get some supper together and make it a dudes night.
I
Even though I'll
love
be
those
working.
nights, man. Those are great.
He said,
So,
let's ride.
Let's
go.
ride. Yeah, Connor, let's ride.
Well, I posted Thursday night no rides. So
No rides. We're not riding anywhere anymore, huh?
Thank you.
All right, so Heidelberg plays Mount Union. Tiffin University plays
They're at Hillsdale today.
Hillsdale. That's what it was.
Michigan, that
So,
godforsaken state.
yeah.
Both
wow,
teams
they
are up
travel
there.
so much.
Well, yeah, the GMAC. I mean, you think you go all the way up into Michigan for Hillsdale, and then you got Tiffin and Findlay and Ashland right here, not even an hour apart, and then you got all the way down to Kentucky Wesleyan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine the drive from Hillsdale to Kentucky Wesleyan whenever they have to make that. Those two schools sucks for them. That's kind of Tiffin's right in the middle, and so is Findlay, so that's not bad.
Right. So Tiffin, right now, I think they're what 5-2, 4-2.
Yes, 4-2.
4-2.
Sorry.
4-2. Yeah. But a couple of I wouldn't say they were surprising losses. They were good teams they lost to. I mean, Indianapolis, right, was one of
Yeah.
them. That was I mean, they were ranked, so
Yeah, both the losses.
Yeah.
Both of the losses were tough.
it's a different year for them now. I mean, they're adjusting to a new quarterback, right?
Yes,
Nick
Christian
Watson
Carter.
is those are some big shoes to fill.
Oh yeah,
Big shoes to fill.
one of the best of all time at TU.
And, I feel like they're still assimilating right now, finding their identity. You're in week 7 now.
Yeah.
To me, this is a big game for them. It's a road game. Hillsdale, usually is a tough opponent.
Usually pretty tough.
Usually is a pretty tough opponent. So this could be one of those games where, we talk about litmus tests, we talk about measuring stick. That's this is one of those games where you're going to really find out where you're at when it comes to conference and just the landscape of Division II.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like I said, the 2 losses were tough, both of them in the final minute. The Indianapolis loss, I think they were up like 20-7 in the fourth quarter, and Indianapolis scored twice, including with like 6 seconds to go to lose.
Man.
I think next week we should try to get Russ Snyder on.
Big
Get him on a phone call. Russ, if you're watching, calling you out. I'm going to try to get you on next week.
They're on a bye too, so he won't be going anywhere.
Get him to come on, talk about Tiffin University a little bit, because I feel like sometimes obviously because we stream Heidelberg, we have a little bit of a bias. I wouldn't say bias. We just lean a little bit more towards that side because we cover them, but we still have love for the Dragons.
Yes.
We're just more involved in Heidelberg.
Exactly.
Football.
That's all it is.
That's all it is, yeah.
So I do want to reach out and extend the olive branch to anyone from Tiffin University. If you want to come on our show, if you want to have us, if you want to have us cover any of your events, just reach out, let us know. Obviously, they have their own stream.
Yeah.
Russ does a great job.
Tremendous job.
Dragon Radio, tremendous. Not just the content that they provide as far as live sports, but also, if you ever listen to the station when they're not broadcasting, some killer cuts as far as music is concerned. So, but yeah, that's one of those. We want to be involved, but we also don't want to step on anybody's toes. So I'll try to reach out, see if we can get Russ on next week. Have him at least come on for a phone call, but maybe we can convince him to come down to the studio if he's up early enough. And,
hey, man, maybe we can do some kind of deal, Leo, where, he's on our show, and maybe he could broadcast it on their stuff, too, or something like that.
That'd be pretty cool. But once again, Tiffin University on the road against Hillsdale today. Heidelberg on the road against Mount Union. That's it for local college. Now, national college, we'll touch briefly on this, and then I want to get going here because I know you got somewhere to be. But let's talk. There's a few matchups that I kind of was looking at. One of them is the one where College Game Day is there today. Kansas and TCU. Kansas being the number 19 team in the nation finally got ranked. Got some respect.
Finally.
Yes.
Got some respect.
Put some respect on my
Rock
name.
Jock Jayhawk.
And
That's a basketball school, right?
yes,
Yes, it is.
Their basketball and football team hasn't lost since it's the end of February or something.
Wow.
Because Kansas won national championship.
Yeah.
basketball.
That's
Or
pretty-
beginning of March, something like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's been
Pretty
like
cool,
I've seen the number
cool
of days.
stat
I don't
there.
know what it is. You can do the math. 240 days or whatever it's been since they lost
Huh.
any sporting event for the basketball and football team.
I will say this. That's about as packed as I've ever seen any Kansas campus event. Because that is...
Like I said to you guys when it came on,
wow.
you can't even see where the people in.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
just turns to trees, and I'm sure there's people under those trees that they're
Oh,
showing
yeah.
right now.
Oh, yeah. Maybe in the trees, too. Yes. I wouldn't put
Somebody
it
climbing
wouldn't
up
put it
the
past
tree.
anybody
and
climbing
people
up a tree.
Get some
People up
binoculars.
Briefly talk about Kansas. Kansas is leading the Big 12, and who's right under them? Kansas State.
It's a different Big 12 this year. Oklahoma and Texas aren't what they usually are.
Yeah, they really are not what they used to be, for sure.
Texas 8-point favorites over Oklahoma today, though.
Really?
Red River Showdown.
Well, you
Yeah.
got Quinn Ewers getting the start.
Yeah,
Coming back.
Yep.
Oklahoma's been down these last
They've
2
been
weeks.
the last 2 weeks. They've looked atrocious.
And-
So I guess I'm not surprised once we talk it out. I guess.
Well, you
Yeah.
see Clemson, you see Oklahoma, and you wonder, did Brent Venables really... Should he have left?
Well, he's not playing with any players he's recruited. Obviously, those are all Lincoln Riley players.
This is true, but Lincoln Riley, look what he's done at USC in a
without
short
his
amount of time
players.
with not his players.
Well,
so.
he's got a couple.
Well,
Drug Williams.
couple
Caleb
transfers.
Williams helps for sure.
That's
He
a
helps a
big
little
help.
bit. That definitely helps.
Top 5 Heisman contender.
You guys say Ohio State had Michigan State today?
Yeah, 20-something point favorite, 27 point favorites, I think.
Dang.
So
My Irish are back in action this week, and they're wearing the sweet uniforms here.
What do you call it when they say take Ohio State, and does it fade? Would you fade them, or was that's like the bad thing?
I think fade is the bad thing.
Fade is the
We're
bad
trying to
thing.
catch up
Okay.
on
See,
the lingo of the over-under boys.
I'm not the gambling guy, but over-under guys, those are the guys we need to have on when we talk about gambling.
When you said fade, I thought we were talking street lingo.
Exactly, like we're talking about a nice fade.
I'll
here.
take Ohio
Fade
State
it
to
up
cover
here.
the spread. Is that
Oh
good?
yeah, for
Is that
sure.
good?
Yeah, so you're gonna.
I would
ride.
take Ohio State to cover
Well,
today.
I'm not thrilled about the 2 players out, but
After,
I mean they're gonna win. But
Either way,
what is it? After
Jackson Smith and Jigba's been out since week 1.
Yeah.
Since the second play of the game.
I don't want to say they haven't needed him, but I think we need to consider the possibility that Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Ibuka, and Jackson Smith and Jigba are better than Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Is that a bold take?
Those sound like
Well,
made-up
and then
names.
I mean, I know they're all the
you
other
also
two are
have
in the
Julian
NFL.
Fleming too.
And Julian Fleming. And the quarterback's not too bad.
Yeah.
And last week it was Mayan Williams all day, but now he's out today.
out today.
Question.
Undisclosed.
Question here. Now, I have always been a Buckeye fan, and as I'm coming into last season, as a Buckeye fan, I didn't know C.J. Stroud. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what he brought to the table. Started out struggling a little bit. I was one of those Buckeye fans that said, bring in Ewers. Bring him in. Get him started. Get him into the fold. Get him working with the offense. Get him. That's the number one recruit in college football. He came to you early so he could get a chance to play. Let's get him on the field, right? Then CJ has a great game and another great game and another great game, and then he just cements himself as the starter. So much so that Quinn Ewers transfers during the offseason. Now, CJ's having himself a phenomenal season. I'm not taking anything away from CJ Stroud, but this seems like one of those offenses where you can just take anybody and plug him in, and he's probably going to throw for close to 50 touchdowns and 4,000 yards on the season. You throw into the likes of Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jigba, Igbukba, I always mess his name up,
Emeka Ibuka.
Egbuka, and then Julian Fleming, not to mention Cade Stover
Cade
at the
Stover,
tight end position.
Huge.
You've got weapons all over the field with this team. I just feel like, I'm not taking anything away from CJ, but this is one of those, anybody could be there. Anybody could do what he's doing. Do you feel like as these games get closer to the playoffs, you're going to see more of the CJ Stroud struggling, or is this where he starts to ascend into Heisman status? Because he's probably the front runner for the Heisman right now, if I'm right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he
definitely
is.
And he's probably the number 1 pick in the draft.
Is he
next year,
going
too.
to cement his status from here on out? That's my question. Like,
I think so.
I've seen 2 straight Ohio State quarterbacks put up gaudy numbers in this offense. And then as soon as they go to the pros, they're not hacking it. Dwayne Haskins, hey, RIP, man.
Yeah.
But he didn't really put up that numbers. He got the can in Washington, and then he was a backup in Pittsburgh. Now I know they were looking forward to seeing the potential with him. Potentially, that was never really realized there. But now you have Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Same situation. Comes to the
Not
NFL
great.
where basically they put the pressure on him to be the guy, and he's not that guy. I worry about C.J. Stroud in this situation because Ohio State quarterbacks just have not been successful at the NFL level. And when I look at this team, I hope for CJ's sake that when he gets to the big leagues that he doesn't have the same situation that, has faced Justin, has faced Dwayne Haskins, where they benefit from the guys around them. You don't want a guy like that going to a situation like Houston.
Yeah, well, that's probably
Houston's
where he's
got
headed.
the number
That's
1
worst
pick.
part, yeah.
Do you really want him to end up in Houston? Is that I'm just talking from a Buckeye fan perspective. I'm sorry. We're done with the college football breakdown. This is the last thing I want to talk about here.
I'm cool if he stays at Ohio State another year.
That's
He's not
kind of
going
what
to,
I'm
but
saying. He
he won't,
should
though.
not go pro after this year, but he will because he's going to be the number 1 overall pick if he
That's
keeps
a
it
lot,
up.
Lots of money.
But I don't know. I guess I see this from, the perspective of there's not many Ohio State quarterbacks that are successful at the next level. But how do you feel?
No, I agree with you. It's definitely an argument to be had. Even before him, JT Barrett wasn't successful in the pros either. So
Yeah.
I think he's the Heisman front runner and has headed that way. I mean, I don't see anybody in the Big Ten that's going to be stopping that offense anytime soon.
Yeah.
We have a comment here from Facebook from Gary Ross says Ohio State quarterbacks need to stay the full 4 years and develop.
Exactly.
That's a good take.
That's how I've always felt about Ohio State quarterbacks. Stay the full 4 years, work yourself through this offense to where it's not a one read. Because every one of these quarterbacks that's come out of Ohio State, they don't go past their second read.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you get to that second read, if it's not there, they take off and run. And in the NFL, that's not possible. You're not going to outrun linebackers. Even defensive ends are faster than quarterbacks in the NFL. So that needs to be something. I hope CJ sticks around for another year at least and cements himself, as the number one pick next year, not this year. But who knows?
You want to be a successful quarterback going into the draft, but you also want to be a developed quarterback.
Exactly.
Going into the draft.
Now, we do have one more segment here. I want to talk about our Champs cut of the week. Of course, Champs Barbershop, that's where you go when you want to look good. You don't trust your looks to just anybody. Trust it to the pros at Champs Barbershop. Go down and see all of our friends, Randy Ware and all the friends down at Champs Barbershop whenever you want to look good. They'll line you up and make you look like $1 million. I'm telling you, folks. But once again, this is our Champs cut of the week. We have 2 of them, right, Greg?
Yep, we got 2 from your guys' game here that we're going to show, and then I believe we got 2 from ours after that.
So we actually have 2 from each game, and then we also have one that was submitted from Austin, correct?
Yep. Port Clinton highlights.
So we'll have 5 total. Most likely what the case was. 3rd and 9. Keller slings it out right side. Picked off! Intercepted at the 40, and he's got nothing but green in front. To the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Seconds to go. Cole Owens lines up for a 20-yard field goal. The kick is up, and it's good! Cole Owens from 20.
Of it with good special teams.
And here we go. Tigers are off, and they're off. 20, 10, touchdown. Foose looking to pass. He's dancing. He's rolling to his left. He throws it deep. He's got Cody. Touchdown. Touchdown, Tigers.
Right now, he finished the night with 256 yards on 16 carries and 5 touchdowns for Port Clinton last night. Junior running back on the season, 862 yards. Cam Gillum to Gabe Cascella. Gillum finished the game 6 of 8 for 182 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. That Willard defense, the offense has put up a lot of points, but that defense has had some trouble.
Wait a second. Did you just say 6 for 8 for 188 yards?
That's right.
That's effective.
And 2 touchdowns.
That would be, let me do some math in my head. That's 124 points they've given up the last 2 weeks?
Yes.
Because I saw Edison score 56 on him the week before. Now, granted, Willard scored 49 as well.
Yeah.
It's 56-49, but to give up 56 and 68
Man.
back-to-back weeks.
Yeah,
I don't care how good your offense is. You're not going to win games.
right.
That's crazy that he threw for 182 yards on 6 of the passes or whatever, and that one touchdown was 82 of those yards.
Exactly. All right, folks. Well, that's pretty much going to do it. I wasted a lot of Josh's time this morning. I didn't waste it, but I used up a lot of
I'm
your
jumping
time.
on 231 and flying to
Exactly. All right, guys. So, once again, thanks for tuning in here on the Saturday Scoreboard. If you made it this far, please make sure you do us a favor. Share the video. Like, follow, subscribe on all of our platforms. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram as well. That's going to do it for Connor Roush, Joshua Morgret, and Greg Kinn. I'm Nate Mullins signing off. I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to Tiffin Columbian head football coach Judd Lutz for joining us on the program. Thanks once again to Austin Rodriguez for submitting those clips. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Catch us next Saturday right here on the Saturday Scoreboard on Heart of Ohio Sports.